Have you ever heard the incredible story of two twin brothers, abandoned as infants and raised by a she-wolf, who would go on to found one of the greatest empires in history? This isn't a fairy tale. It's the legendary origin of Rome, a city built on brotherhood, betrayal, and a prophecy that changed the world. Welcome to Timeless Europe, where we uncover the epic stories and forgotten histories that shaped our world. Today, we are journeying back to ancient Italy to explore the myth of Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of the Eternal City. It's a tale of gods, kings, and a destiny that was written in the stars, but fulfilled in blood. Our story begins not with the twins, but with their grandfather, Numita, the rightful king of Alba Longa, an ancient city in central Italy. Numita ruled justly, but his reign was cut short by his ambitious and ruthless younger brother, Amulius. In a classic story of betrayal, Amulius overthrew Numita, seized the throne, and, to secure his power, took drastic measures to eliminate any potential threats. He murdered Numita's sons and then turned his attention to Numita's only daughter, Rhea Silvia. Amulius feared that any children Rhea Silvia might have could one day grow up to challenge his rule and claim their grandfather's throne. So, he forced her to become a Vestal Virgin, a priestess sworn to a 30-year vow of celibacy. By doing this, Amulius believed he had completely extinguished Numita's bloodline and cemented his own position as king. But he made a critical mistake. He underestimated the power of the gods. According to the legend, Mars, the powerful god of war, was captivated by Rhea Silvia's beauty. He visited her, and from their union, she conceived twin boys. When King Amulius discovered her pregnancy, his fury was immense. He saw his carefully laid plans crumbling before his eyes. He had tried to defy fate, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. Once the twins, Romulus and Remus, were born, the terrified king knew he had to act swiftly and decisively. He couldn't risk these sons of a god growing up to avenge their family. Amulius ordered a servant to take the infant twins and drown them in the Tiber River. The servant, however, couldn't bring himself to commit such a monstrous act. Perhaps he felt pity for the innocent babies, or maybe he feared the wrath of the gods for killing the son of Mars. Instead of drowning them, he placed the twins in a small reed basket and set it adrift on the river's current. He hoped that the river would carry them and feck away, and their fate would be left to chance. The Tiber River was overflowing its banks at the time. Instead of being swept away to their deaths in the main current, the basket gently drifted downstream and eventually washed ashore at the base of a fig tree known as the Ficus ruminalis near the foot of the Palatine Hill. The twins were alive, but they were alone, helpless, and crying from hunger. Their cries, however, did not go unanswered. What happened next is the most famous part of the legend. A she-wolf, who had just lost her own cubs, heard the infant's cries. Drawn by instinct, or perhaps by divine guidance, she came to the basket. Instead of harming the boys, her maternal instincts took over. She gently knew them and began to nurse them, saving them from starvation. This image of a she-wolf suckling two human babies has become an enduring symbol of Rome itself, representing the city's wild, untamed origins and its nurturing strength. A woodpecker, another animal sacred to Mars, was also said to have brought the boys food. This miraculous survival was a clear sign that the twins were protected by the gods and destined for greatness. Their time with the she-wolf didn't last forever. Soon, a shepherd named Faustulus was tending his flock nearby and stumbled upon this extraordinary scene. He saw the wolf caring for the two human babies and was completely astonished. Realizing this was no ordinary event, he carefully took the twins back to his humble hut. He and his wife, Laurentia, had long wished for children of their own. They saw the boys' arrival as a gift from the gods and decided to raise them as their own sons. So, Romulus and Remus, the grandsons of a king and sons of a god, grew up as simple shepherds on the hills of Italy. They had no idea of their royal heritage. They lived a rugged, outdoor life, learning to hunt, fight, and lead. They were natural leaders, strong, brave, and charismatic. They gathered a group of young, adventurous shepherds around them, and together, they defended their flocks from wild animals and fought off local bandits. They were known for their courage and their close bond. They were inseparable, two halves of a whole, facing every challenge together. As the years passed, the twins grew into powerful young men. One day, during a local festival, a dispute broke out between their followers and the shepherds of the deposed King Numita, their own grandfather. The fight escalated, and Remus was captured and taken to Alba Longa to face judgment before Numita himself. When Remus was brought before the old, dethroned king, Numita was struck by the young man's noble bearing and fearless attitude. He questioned Remus about his origins. At the same time, the shepherd Faustulus, fearing for Remus's life, decided it was time to reveal the truth to Romulus. He told him the entire story, about the basket, the she-wolf, and their true identities as the grandsons of Numitor. Armed with this knowledge, Romulus gathered his band of shepherds and marched on Alba Longa to rescue his brother. Meanwhile, Remus's story and his resemblance to the royal family had led Numitor to suspect the truth. When Romulus arrived and the full story was revealed, the family was finally reunited. The twins, now aware of their heritage and the injustice done to their family, were filled with a desire for vengeance. They led Nuho followers in an uprising against the usurper, Amulius. They stormed the palace, killed the tyrant king, and restored their grandfather, Numitor, to his rightful throne. With their grandfather back in power in Alba Longa, Romulus and Remus were hailed as heroes. But they were not content to simply live in their ancestral city. They were born leaders, and they yearned to build a city of their own. They decided to return to the place where they had been saved as infants, the Seven Hills Gusa by the Tiber River, and found a new settlement. It was the year 753 BC. This is where the story of brotherhood takes a dark and tragic turn. The twins couldn't agree on which hill to build their city. Romulus favored the Palatine Hill, where they had been found by the she-wolf. Remus preferred the Aventine Hill. The dispute was not just about location, it was about who would be king. To settle the matter, they decided to turn to augury, a Roman practice of interpreting the will of the gods by observing the flight of birds. Remus, standing on the Aventine Hill, was the first to see a sign. 6 vultures flew overhead. He declared it a sign of divine favor. But shortly after, Romulus, on the Palatine Hill, saw a flock of 12 vultures. A fierce argument erupted. Remus claimed he should be king because he saw the birds first. Romulus argued that he should rule because he had seen a larger number. The divine sign, meant to bring clarity, had only deepened their division. Ignoring the unresolved dispute, Romulus began to mark out the boundaries of his new city on the Palatine Hill, digging a trench and starting to build a wall. He declared that this was the sacred boundary, the pomerium, of his city, which he would name Rome, after himself. Remus, still angry and feeling cheated, mocked his brother's efforts. In a final act of defiance and disrespect, he jumped over the low, half-built wall, a sacrilegious act that symbolically violated the sanctity and defense of the new city. In a fit of rage, Romulus's temper flared. He saw his brother's act not just as a childish prank, but as a terrible omen and a direct challenge to his authority and the sacredness of his city. "So perish all who ever cross my walls," he is said to have shouted. He struck his brother down, and Remus fell, dead. The city of Rome, destined for greatness, was founded on an act of fratricide, a brother's blood staining the very foundations. With his brother gone, Romulus became the first king of Rome. The city grew under his rule. He established its first legions, its senate, and its core institutions. He was a warrior king, expanding Rome's territory and population, famously engineering the rape of the Sabine women to provide wives for his male citizens and ensure the city's future. His reign was long and legendary, and he was said to have been taken up to the heavens in a whirlwind to become the god Quirinus. And so, the legend of Romulus and Remus gives us the story of Rome's birth. It's a myth, of course, blending history with folklore and divine intervention. But it tells us so much about how the Romans saw themselves, as a people descended from a god, saved by a miracle, nurtured by nature, and destined for greatness. It's a story that acknowledges the city's violent, chaotic origins, founded on a brutal act, yet frames it as a necessary sacrifice for the creation of something Changda and eternal. The she-wolf, the twins, the murder, it all weaves into the foundational epic of a civilization that would one day rule the known world. What do you think of this incredible founding myth? Does it glorify violence, or does it simply tell a hard truth about the price of ambition and power? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on Timeless Europe. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. See you next time.